Hey podcaster, I'm Tim Walberg, your podcast performance coach with another actionable tip so you can grow your podcast authority, generate leads, and convert with ease. Today's tip is don't publish lame duck interviews. What's a lame duck interview? It's when you finish recording with a guest and your immediate thought is, yuck, that did not go the way I hoped. Maybe the conversation felt awkward. Maybe there was no chemistry. Maybe the guest showed up with absolutely no energy or no ability to explain their ideas clearly. Or maybe they showed up with an agenda and completely railroaded the conversation, treating your show like a free PR stop on their media tour. Whatever the reason, something feels off. It's just not good enough. As a podcast coach, I've had plenty of clients come to me with this situation. Often they are still in the place of self-blame, or they might be in denial. They're trying to avoid the discomfort of telling that guest that the episode is not going to air. So they think to themselves, maybe it's just not as bad as I thought. Look, it's bad. If you feel it, then you know it. Stop thinking about yourself or your guest for a second and ask yourself, does this episode serve my listener? Because your show is not about you. And it's not about your guest either. It's about your listener and whether this episode is useful to them in some way. Does it help them solve a problem? Understand something better? Feel seen? Move forward? If the answer is no, you've got a lame duck interview.
Quack, 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 quack.
And now that you know what a lame duck interview is, let's talk about how to avoid it and what you can do to maybe possibly rescue it. Lame duck interviews can be avoided 90% of the time with a little prep. You know, a bit of communication before the interview. We actually did a whole episode on how to prepare your guest for a great interview. It's episode 178 if you want to check it out. The key to success is that your guest needs to understand who your show is for and why you invited them on. Specifically, just because someone has expertise in 10 different areas doesn't mean you should try to cram all 10 into one conversation. You might say something like, for this episode, I really want to focus on this specific issue and how it affects this particular type of listener. That gives your guests boundaries. It helps them prepare better stories, better examples, and better insights instead of wandering all over the map. It helps them show up prepared. And if you can do a short pre-interview, even better. It doesn't have to be long. 5 or 10 minutes can tell you a lot. You'll quickly figure out whether the person is comfortable on mic, whether they even have a mic, whether they can stay on topic, whether they actually understand your audience, and whether their audio quality is going to work for your show. Because honestly, bad audio can turn a good interview into a bad listening experience really fast. Now, let's say you did all of that and the interview still flopped. It happens. What do? Well, first of all, you need to remember something very important. This is your show. You are under absolutely no obligation to publish a bad interview. None. You don't owe your guest an episode. You owe your listener a good experience. And sometimes the best thing you can do is simply not air it. Thank the guest for their time, let them know the episode won't be moving forward, and move on. That's allowed. But sometimes there's still value buried in the conversation. Maybe the interview as a whole didn't work, but there were a few really strong insights, or maybe a great quote inside that mess. In that case, you can rescue it. And this is where a lot of podcasters make the mistake of thinking too linear. They think, well, maybe if I just edit around the awkward parts, and then they end up with a dog's breakfast. That's even worse than a lame duck. Instead, break it up and rebuild a better interview using only the golden nuggets. Then record the supporting content around it. Think of it like writing an article with quotes from an expert. Maybe there is just one good idea. Use that clip to jumpstart a solo episode on the topic. You're recounting the useful information in your own words, but still shining a light on your expert guest. What if there isn't a single salvageable clip, but good ideas were still shared? Do a solo episode about the interview. Reframe what you learned and how you'd apply it while still giving the guest credit. These are all perfectly valid ways to use the material. Because again, the goal is not to preserve the interview, the goal is to serve the listener. And this is where a lot of podcasters get themselves into trouble. They think, it's just one bad episode. But your listener doesn't see it that way. To them, this is your show. This might be the first episode they've ever heard from you. If someone pressed play on your podcast for the first time and got an awkward, unfocused, low-value interview, there's a pretty good chance they're not coming back. I always think of it like handing out business cards. Imagine if you had 5 beautiful business cards and then one of them had coffee stains and jam smeared all over it, but you handed it out anyway because, it's just one. It's gross. You wouldn't do that because it's bad for your brand. You throw that card away. Your podcast works the same way. Every episode tells your listener how much you care about their experience, how professional you are, and just how much authority you deserve. Every episode. So don't publish lame duck interviews just because you recorded them. Protect the relationship you have with your audience. That matters more than protecting someone's feelings. And I hope that's just the tip you need. Are lame duck interviews the least of your worries when it comes to having a podcast that builds authority and generate leads? If you're struggling with your podcast's ROI, take advantage of my free podcast audit tool. You can download it and get access to a free video training at podcastperformancecoach.com/free-podcast-audit. I'll make it easy and put the link in the show notes for you. You can improve your podcast ROI in less than 1 hour. Get your free podcast audit by using the link in the show notes or at podcastperformancecoach.com. I'm Tim Walberg. See ya.